Welcome back. Today we're talking about The Mandalorian, Chapter 13, The Jedi. You guys, I am really excited to be talking about this episode. Ahsoka Tano is one of my all-time favorite characters, so naturally I'm thrilled to be talking about her this week on my channel. I have a really special place for her in my heart because I grew up with this character. She debuted on screen August 10th, 2008. I was 9, and I said, oh my gosh, she's like me. She's young and fiery and wants to be a Jedi. I can relate. And then I got to grow up with this character, and it was awesome. I love her so much, and I was excited and scared for her to be in live action because I didn't know what I was gonna think. I really wanted it to be done well, and I trusted Dave Filoni to take good care of her because he's been taking care of her for like 10 years now. So let's talk about the episode. I thought that there were gonna be two ways that they were gonna go. Either they were gonna wait to reveal her until the end of the episode, or I honestly did not expect them to reveal her right away, but they did, and I loved it. I mean, like, the first thing we see is that these soldiers going after someone, and we see her white lightsabers, and I said, yes, oh my goodness, go get them. And the way she would activate and deactivate them to be stealthy, I said, Ahsoka! Oh my gosh, she's so cool. Her cutting through the tree to slice through that guy was awesome. I've heard some people say that they are like, I don't think she would be so brutal and so violent, but let's remember that we're talking about the girl who cut off the heads of like 6 Death Watch members instantaneously. So I don't think it's entirely out of character. Plus, we have no idea what's happened to her over the past couple years. The last we knew, she was looking for Ezra. I can understand being a little confused about Ahsoka if you're just meeting her now in The Mandalorian, because they don't give a ton of information about her except for the fact that she was also raised in the Jedi Temple. Watch Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars The Clone Wars if you want more information about her. I thought she looked great. I am the epitome of someone who's really hard to please when it comes to Ahsoka, but I tried very hard not to overanalyze and over-scrutinize this rendition of her, because of course it's going to be different than what I've seen on animation, because it just is. It's just different. My only complaint about how she looked was that her head tails were too short. They should have been longer chronologically, but I was like, you know, they probably did that for stunt purposes, and I get it, whatever. I loved the foreshadowing with Grogu and the little ball that he loves, that silver ball on Mando's ship. I think the foreshadowing with that was well done. I love how smart the Mandalorian is. You know, we know that he's this really smart character who can also kick butt, and I think sometimes because he kicks butt so well, we forget that he's really crafty. The beginning of this episode was brilliant. He walked up to the town and he wasn't just like, hey, I'm looking for a Jedi. He said, I'm a hunter. I've been hunting for a couple days looking for a little bit of a layover, and they were like, are you guild? And he was like, last I checked. Which makes sense, because last he checked he was a guild member. There's no reason why he would lose that status. It was like in D&D when you roll for deception or persuasion, and he rolled really well this whole episode. They brought him into this town, which is horrible, by the way. It's led by this magistrate who we learn more about later in the episode, and she doesn't care about them at all. We learned in the beginning. She told Ahsoka, their lives mean nothing to me, and I said, oh, that's a bummer. You see them caged. It reminds me of like prisoners of war who were forced to like hold logs above their head until they couldn't anymore, and then they were killed. It's like you are forced to stand on this post for as long as you can, and then when you can't stand anymore, you fall and get electrocuted and you die. It's terrible, but it sets the tone right away about what's going on, and we understand why Ahsoka is fighting against them. The Mando walks in. He tries to talk to people. They can't talk to him, and I was like, oh, I hope nobody gets killed because he doesn't know what's going on. And then he goes and he talks to the magistrate, and she's got this staff that's all Beskar, and when he hit it against his armor, I was like, oh, I got goosebumps because the sound. And she was like, can you please kill this Jedi for me? And he was like, where do I find her? I was like, wow, this worked out perfectly. The difference between the town and her palace area was very well done. It took you from like western desolate wasteland to this beautiful garden that's very much of Asian heritage and culture, and you see the bonsai trees, and we say, okay, this is very much like samurai and cowboys. And that is what Star Wars is, and I love it. So he goes to find Ahsoka, and I was thrilled because I noticed the little owl, and that's like such a nitpicky thing you don't notice if you don't really look for it, but that's Morai. That's the spirit of the daughter that always follows Ahsoka. I know that if we see that owl, she's probably close by. I said, that was good job, Dave Filoni. I love when he does stuff like that. Thank goodness lightsabers don't cut Beskar because Mando would be dead. It was so cool because we got to see him use weapons that Mandalorians have used throughout history against Jedi. His flamethrowers, because there's not a ton that they can do about that except for use the Force, which is tough. The cord that he wrapped her up in, that's a real common Mandalorian move to stop Jedi. And then of course he was like, skip Ahsoka Tano, Bo-Katan sent me. And she was like, oh, okay, I hope it's about him. And I said, okay, great, we're off to the races. I love this already. This campfire scene where Ahsoka talks to, we learn his name is Grogu, Baby Yoda, was very well done. I loved watching them communicate non-verbally. I think we forget how much of communication is actually non-verbal. But of course they were talking telepathically or whatever. I loved it. And when she relayed his story about being raised in the temple and being trained by many masters, it was fun to watch Ahsoka talk about this because as she was talking about his past, we got to learn about her history, which mirrors the scene with Obi-Wan and Luke in A New Hope when Obi-Wan is telling him about the Jedi and what happened to his father. We learn a lot about Obi-Wan. It was adorable seeing Grogu respond to his name when Mando said it. He was like, I loved it. It was so cute. Ahsoka talks about how when Order 66 happened in the temple, he was hidden and someone saved him or took him from the temple. Who is this someone? Who did it? We don't know, but I want to know. She asks about his Force abilities and Mando's like, yeah, he has powers. And Ahsoka's like, the Force gives him his power, and she explains the Force to him. I just love watching Force users explain the Force to people who don't understand it. We see that he still has powers and he doesn't respond to Ahsoka, he responds to Mando with the little silver ball, the foreshadowing from the beginning. I thought that was really cool, but she was like, nope, I won't train him. He's got a strong attachment to you, which makes him vulnerable to his fear and his anger. She said, I've seen what that can do to fully trained Jedi Knights. I won't do it. And I was like, oh, because I know she's talking about Anakin and it just hurts my heart so much. Also, troll, because he's a Jedi Knight, not a Jedi Master.
But we do not grant you the rank of Master.
Yeah, it just hurts my heart because they had such a special bond, and it just breaks my heart the way that that went. Ahsoka explains that the magistrate, Morgan Elsbeth, her entire people or family were slaughtered, and so she went on to slaughter many others to fund an Imperial Starfleet. It's so sad. I don't like those sorts of things, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. You learn to live and adapt to the world that you were brought up in. And then they're like, let's do a team up. I'll help you deal with her if you train the kid. So again, we see the, I'll do something for you if you do something for me, blah, 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 blah. And it's a Mandalorian and a Jedi, so they'll never see it coming. The end of this episode, I thought, was absolutely stellar. I loved all of the battle scenes. Oh my goodness, Dave Filoni just understands Star Wars. When she was standing in the pathway and the wind was blowing and she was standing off with the guards and the woman, it was just so dynamic. And I loved every second of it. Silence played a big role in this episode, and I loved every second of it. It was great because when Ahsoka came in and like threw his shoulder plate with his mark down and was like, your guy failed to kill me, so what are you gonna do about it? And while they were busy with her, he freed the prisoners, and I was like, yes, go Mando, go Ahsoka, kick some butt. I also thought that the like random samurai droid that just like hopped up on the roof was pretty funny. And then we have two standoffs. A standoff between Mando and this head of the guard and Ahsoka and the magistrate. The beauty of these two scenes is, I'm like at a lack of words because I liked it so much. It was a Western gunslinger standoff while there was a samurai battle going on. You can just see the respect they have for each other as opponents, yet they know that only one can leave, and it's just, the magistrate clinked the staff on the ground and that sound rang out. I said, oh! And listening to Mando and the guard talk about it was interesting. Because Mando didn't say anything, but the other guy was like, who do you think's gonna win? Is this really something we're gonna give our lives up over? I don't think this is it. The magistrate manages to knock one of Ahsoka's lightsabers into the koi pond, and I was like, oh, she had better get that back. A lightsaber is your life. But I was thrilled because she finally switched to reverse grip. I love when she fights that way. The whole episode she had been fighting with the normal forward fighting style in both hands, and I was like, when are we gonna see the reverse grip? Because that's like iconic for Ahsoka. And she finally did it, and it was impressive because it was like, oh, so she was probably playing to her opponent most of the time, because as soon as she switched to reverse grip, she had her beat in like a couple moves. I loved it. And then she's been asking her where her master is, where her boss is, and I was like, whatever, okay, cool. He's probably talking about somebody somewhere. And then she heckin' says, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? And I said, he's alive? They know he's doing things? Because that opens a whole other world where Ezra is probably alive. So, I mean, we think he's alive. Ezra is out there somewhere, which means that he could be found. It's just like, oh my goodness, is Thrawn gonna show up? This would be so cool. I don't personally know a ton about Thrawn. I know that he's really smart, his emotions are succinct, and I know that he played a big role in Rebels. When she name dropped him, I was like, oh my gosh, that's really cool and not at all what I was expecting. At the end, we see the rightful ruler, leader of this city is reinstated. There's a big celebration. It's awesome. We love to see imperialized colonies freed. We see Mando going to say goodbye to Grogu, which was really emotional, even though I knew he wasn't gonna say goodbye, and Ahsoka was like, I can't train him, and he was like,
a deal's a deal. I held up my end.
She was like, why don't you go find this Jedi on this planet? I don't remember what planet it was, but she was like, why don't you go find this other Jedi? And I was like, oh, there's like 3 possibilities. There's only like 3. It could be Luke, it could be Ezra, or it could be Cal Kestis from the Jedi Fallen Order video game, which is canon. And I was like, first off, it would be awesome to see any of those, and it would be really interesting to see which direction they decide to go for the future of this show. I don't know who he's going to find, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I cannot wait to find out. Comment below what you guys thought of the episode. Let's talk about it. I'd love to hear your opinions and your theories. Again, thank you so much for supporting my channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and I will see you next week. I love you 3000 lovelies. Bye!